leader in the post-pandemic world needs to be empathetic, needs to be humble, needs to be authentic, and lastly, very, very importantly, needs to be approachable.
It's no secret that English is widely considered the global language of business, with multinational companies, regardless of where their headquarters are situated, are frequently insisting on English as the common corporate language for all employees, irrespective of geographical region. Today, we will be discussing its applicability in this particular podcast. Hello and welcome to the Honest Talk by Freak Folks. I'm Harsh Pandey. For this particular session, we have with us very special guest today. Joining us all the way from Singapore, Ms. Shivani Hans Ma'am. She is an expert trainer, certified coach, and consultant based in Singapore. Her expertise in the English language communication helps clients transform their language skills for academic and professional success. Her style is collaborative and she takes a holistic approach. She is skilled at going from big picture to small details, which help her in transforming perspective for her clients. She completed CELTA for the University of Cambridge and working with the British Council as the corporate trainer. She is an avid learner, is currently pursuing a master's in education from the University of Nottingham. So first of all, ma'am, I welcome you to in this session. Thank you so much for joining and actually agreeing to share your thoughts with us.
Thank you so much, Harsh. I'm happy to be here, and thank you very much for a very kind introduction. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. It's our pleasure too. So, moving to the topic of today's session, which we have chosen is business English and its applicability in India. We all know in the competitive work environment today, where we seek to have an impact, use our talents, and support our life purposes, it's no brainer that the business English is an important career development initiative. Yet, many professionals feels like they just don't have the time or energy to build their English skills. So, my very first request to you, ma'am, please explain to our viewers what is the actual real benefit of investing in learning business English.
Yeah, why business English? A lot of people ask me that. And in order for us to understand why, first of all, I'd like to talk about what business English is. Business English is understanding English, having the language which is suitable to business contexts, and the English language that is used in business context. So the learners are introduced to some burning topics which are relevant in business today. It could be, coasting, which is quiet quitting. It could be the great resignation, the great thing. Now, all of these topics, which are very relevant in today's business scenario, the authentic material, as it is called, is introduced to the learners, and the vocabulary, grammatical structures, sentence structures, syntax, everything is interwoven. So there is a very subtle introduction of these elements, and it is more relevant to the business scenarios, and they are introduced to business ethics, negotiations. So everything is very subtly, introduced. Now, why invest in that? Today, we are living against the backdrop of constantly changing world, and we have seen some very unprecedented changes.
Right.
So in this state of flux that we are in, it is just imperative for every individual to reskill and upskill and make the relevance in the market.
Correct.
And today, as we see that, English is spoken by around 1.75 billion worldwide people. And, when it has become the common language, or as we call it, the lingua franca of the world, we also know that it is the common language of business.
Yes.
Therefore, I feel that, if an individual aspires to work in an organization which has global presence, it is kind of mandatory for the individual to upskill and invest in business English to be able to communicate effectively, confidently, and successfully.
Indeed, ma'am. I think actually you have discussed some of the really very great points, and I'm sure the people those who are watching this session they are going to find this insightful or meaningful. And you have discussed actual the terms and what are the how it is very much applicable in our day-to-day life, especially in the business world. I have second question is 4 out of 10 global workers from the 76 countries were ranked as business English beginners by the GEC survey that ranks them and as having an average understanding of the English, able to hold a conversation but not lead one. The majority, 60% of the 108,000 people who took the GEC test from the represented country is scored between 4.02 and 7.0, indicating an inability to take an active role in the business discussion through the global conferences call or perform complex tasks such as presentation development and customer or partner negotiation. So my question to you is, how do you say this?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the figures that you have shared, they are absolutely true, because my learners also often come to me and they say that they feel very, very nervous when it comes to communicating in English. And a lot of times these non-native speakers, they have some very bright ideas. They're very clever people.
Yes.
However, they are not able to express themselves, and some even say that sometimes they ramble, and the meaning of what they want to convey somewhere gets lost in the jungle of words. And the reasons for those could be they are not well versed with the language, therefore they feel that they are not equipped to communicate, and they feel judged. They feel that probably if they speak in front of other people, they would be judged for the grammatical errors. And sometimes they don't even have the requisite vocabulary, and because of that they feel that they will not be able to come up with a relevant and appropriate word for the situation, and they should rather keep quiet. So yeah, it is, they often struggle with communication and more with expression of their ideas.
Indeed, ma'am. Actually, I think you have. I'm actually very happy that you have discussed this question, and it's very important. Like we all need to understand. It's okay at some point of time we were not able that much confident. We don't have, but it's absolutely okay, and we can learn the things, and we can means gain the skills. So moving to my
Mhm.
third question, I have is like means it's a kind of a request again to you. So I want you to discuss with our viewers like what do you feel? What is the exact applicability of business English if we talk particularly on means inside India?
Mhm. So, we know that economies are changing very fast. And, we have the new definition of emerging market. India is one of the emerging markets, and, all the business is coming to Asia, a lot of businesses are coming to India. We already have lots of multinational companies like Apple, Deloitte, Coca-Cola, TCS, and Accenture, IBM. I mean, there are so many. And while we have the multinational organizations coming to India, either having their presence or having their back-end support, in addition to that, we have so many Indian organizations which are going global. Therefore, English has become imperative, because now the Indians need to be competing and communicating and expressing themselves on a global platform. And if they want to communicate effectively, they need to be confident of their language skills, and they need to hone their language skills and come up and put their point forth confidently.
Indeed, ma'am, actually. And I have next question. I have got actually some numbers to say. So around 90% of non-English speakers say that speaking the language is important to their career growth, but only 7% of them say that their English level is adequate to move up the ladder and get offered more international opportunities, according to a global English survey conducted in 2010. So I have a question like this is the question mostly people face. So what do you feel? I actually want to know your views on this. What do you feel? Which one brings more international opportunities, having a great skill set or the ability to speak a foreign language?
I think you can't have one without the other. Both of them are very critical skills. You may have a very sound knowledge, technical knowledge, but if you're not able to communicate it, uh, I don't think you can succeed. And on the other hand, you may be a very good orator. You may have excellent communication skills, but then you will be able to floor others only if you have some merit in your conversation. So you need to have very sound technical knowledge. So
Yes.
I would say that they go hand in hand. And if you want to set yourself up for success, you can't leave either of those behind.
Indeed, ma'am. Actually, I think you have given a great message that it's can't be one thing. You just have to make the balance between both of the things in order to get or manage to get great opportunities for yourself. And I have one more question to ask, ma'am. Actually, we all know a new way of working has emerged from the post-industrial age into the digital one, and whether the need of the new leadership. So, I want you to know your views on this. What do you think? What are your views on the demanding leadership of this new age?
All the leaders, I feel that today they have very, very huge, humongous tasks in front of them. As they say, heavy is the head that bears the crown. So they have a lot of responsibility on their shoulders. And a good leader or an effective leader is, first of all, is the one who is very genuine. He has to be authentic, and by authentic I mean that he should be courageous to be vulnerable. So a leader should be able to own up the mistakes and should be completely transparent with the team and say that hey, I don't know what's happening. I don't have all the answers. Let's find all the answers together. And you know the other very, very important trait is humility. A leader has to be humble today. And when I say humble, we live in the world where we are not restricted by age, or there is no hierarchy to define our growth. Therefore, I may become the boss of somebody who was my boss earlier, and vice versa. And therefore, we have to exercise humility. So, if I may put it simply, I'd like to say that bosses can't boss around anymore. Leaders are the one who can inspire and encourage, and they have to be empathetic. Now,
Yes.
empathy is a very simple word used so many times everywhere, but then it has a very deep and profound meaning. What is empathy? It's not just that, I feel you or I know what you're going through. It's a step ahead. It's like, I know what you're going through, but what can I do for you? And lastly, we live in a world where, there is no hierarchy. You must have seen around in India also that, the age of cabins and closed door
Correct.
policies are not there. We have a lot of hot desking. So this is only to emphasize that approachability is something that everybody values. So, to sum up, I would say a good leader in the post pandemic world needs to be empathetic, needs to be humble, needs to be authentic, and lastly, very, very importantly, needs to be approachable.
Indeed, ma'am. Actually, I think you have covered this question very well, and I'm sure like it's very hard to disagree with you. You have told us some of the very important qualities of great leader, and I'm sure, ma'am, there's a lot more to learn from you. But today we are short of a time, so moving to my last question of this session. Actually, this global pandemic decision and other recent shared experience have inspired us to ask what else. So my question to you is, what are the mindsets and skill sets that need to be developed towards the end of our conversation? Could you please share some of the tips for the young entrepreneur or young millennials, and also for the students, those who are still in their colleges, what kind of skills they must learn in order to equip more themselves, in order to make themselves more compatible with the industry demands?
I would talk for both the millennials, Gen Zs, as well as the organizations.
Fine.
So the word which comes up very, very importantly these days is being amenable, being adaptable, being flexible. See what happened to all the industries and startups or organizations which refuse to change. So be creative, be innovative, be flexible to change, be adaptable, and have lots and lots of emotional intelligence. So look out for opportunities, be always, one step ahead and be ahead of the learning curve. So I would say look out for opportunities, but also look out for each other. Learn and grow together and invest in yourselves because you are worth it.
Right. Right, exactly, ma'am. I think you have covered this very well, and I'm sure the people, those who are watching this session, they are going to find this meaningful in many ways. And thank you so much, ma'am, for joining and giving your important time. It was a kind of a very great session with you. We look forward to conduct more such session with you, and we'll find more such approaches to collaborate.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure coming here.
Thank you, ma'am. My pleasure.
On the ground is where I stand. Never give up, that was always the plan. It's so cold outside.